Matt James's season of The Bachelor is in for a major twist. We're breaking down everything we know about week 4. Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We are so excited to talk all things next episode of The Bachelor. But before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, and I'm joined by the wonderful Gabby Gonta and Mariah Davis. Hi, guys. So, you guys, Matt's season is already off to such an eventful start. We've already seen a lot of tears, a lot of drama, and we know that next week, producers are mixing it up and sending in 5 new contestants. ABC has released new official details on what we can expect. And it honestly looks like the arrival of the new women is just the tip of the iceberg next week. So let's dive into everything we know. Of course, last week, Sarah sent herself home, and it looks like Matt is going to sort of be struggling to process this when we pick back up. The official synopsis says, still reeling from Sarah's sudden departure, Matt fights his tendency to put up walls as his journey continues, with the 18 remaining women vying for his heart. So, of course, I know we talked about this a little in the recap, Gabby, but we know he and Sarah had a connection that clearly meant a lot to him. First of all, Sarah did some unprecedented things as a contestant. She stayed in her room, she didn't participate in things. And the lead told her point blank, I will come personally visit you every day if I need to, which again, we don't really see promises like that a lot. So what are your thoughts on how long it's going to take him to sort of bounce back from this, knowing their connection was real, knowing he struggles to be vulnerable? He kind of has been let down right out the gate. What do you think, Gabby?
I think it's definitely going to scar him a little bit. I think he mentioned as soon as he saw Sarah step out of the limo, she became one of his favorites. And clearly because she got one of the first one-on-one dates. And it went super well. They really, let down their walls and got to know each other on a deeper level. So I think we know that Matt has said one of his biggest fears is to be vulnerable and not receive that back. So I think it's just a moment where he said, I'm going to commit, I'm going to let my guard down and share, deep things with this woman. And then she just got so emotionally stressed about everything that she wasn't able to continue, even though they had a connection there. So I think in the future, he's definitely going to be afraid of that happening again, even though there's probably a lot of other girls that are going to be good matches for him.
I completely agree. I worry that he is going to have a hard time moving past this. We've seen time and time again in the Bachelor Nation's past, there's a key figure who ends up leaving, and whoever is the Bachelor or Bachelorette has a really hard time because they miss that person even more, and they feel so disappointed that the opportunity to look into that relationship further no longer exists. So I think that we'll see him really struggle with that. But also, he really does have some strong connections with quite a few women that we've seen so far. My favorite right now is Bree. I think she got the first one-on-one date. So I'm really excited about his relationship with Bree. And he's got several other connections that I think that will serve as kind of a distraction, but that will also just grow. I'm interested to see what will happen. I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of Sarah.
Oh, interesting. That's a theory I haven't heard quite yet. Well, nonetheless, I think we're all excited to see, what is to come. The one thing I will say is on Sarah's way out, she obviously had a lot weighing on her. She had, her own mental health to worry about. She really missed her family, but she did make it clear to Matt that the drama in the house played at least a role in her decision. I think she said to him, some of the ladies here are vicious. And I have to imagine if I was the lead, if I was in this position, grieving the loss of someone I felt I had a really strong connection with, I'm going to be really curious who in this group of women, played a role in this, who's potentially going to lead other women to feel uncomfortable within this group. And I think that obviously takes us to Victoria. Last week, the main focus was Sarah, but she still managed to shock us. And we already know that there is more drama ahead. We did see a little bit of this in the teaser, but it looks like Katie and Victoria are going to be going head to head this week. The synopsis explains emotions in the house continue to run high, leading to a trash talking face off between Victoria and Katie. Even former Bachelor Ben Higgins and Bachelor Nation favorite Wells Adams can't diffuse the drama as things get physical on 2 group dates. So, first of all, quick little tease there. We're getting our first couple of familiar Bachelor Nation faces, which I know is exciting. We love to see it. But getting into this Katie and Victoria situation, a lot of Bachelor Nation was really impressed with Katie last week. We saw sort of a range of emotions, but ultimately that conversation one-on-one with Sarah really impressed a lot of people with her maturity, her willingness to sort of like hash things out, have a vulnerable conversation. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see this battle with Victoria. Is she standing up for someone? Is she picking a fight? You know, how is this drama coming to be? What do you think is going to happen between the two of them, Mariah?
I think Katie has really, when I think of Katie, I think she's a person who doesn't let anybody step on the little guy. Like, she's the first one to use her voice if something's not right, whether it's a popular opinion or unpopular opinion. So my best guess, her and Victoria are butting heads because Victoria is a very challenging character, and we've seen her gang up on people already on multiple occasions during this season so far. So my best guess is Katie is just like, I've had enough of it. What you're doing isn't right. And she's probably standing up for someone or even herself. So I'm honestly at this point all the way team Katie. So I'm excited to see what the situation is because I'm backing her all the way.
Yeah, I agree. I think Victoria is just such a shady person and just like overall pretty selfish because it seems like she's friends with whoever is like on her side that day. You know, in the first couple episodes, she wasn't making friends with anybody. She was really, you know, on her own. And then when Sarah interrupted the group date, you know, all of a sudden her and Katie were like buddies and ganging up against Sarah because Sarah was the new like quote unquote enemy. And then now it seems like Katie and Victoria are going to get into it probably because Katie did something that Victoria didn't like and she decided to not like her that day. So I think it's just like Victoria choosing to pick fights when there probably doesn't need to be any. And I'm hoping that like whatever ends up going down, that Matt can clearly see it because it sounds like it happens on a group date. And so hopefully he can like see a little bit more clearly the girls that are being kind of mean and just like inciting drama when there doesn't need to be. And he can squash that, you know, with all the power that he has to do so.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I think, you know, there is this push and pull. We want the drama, but we don't want the show to get too derailed. We want the drama, but we don't want him to ultimately end up with someone dramatic. So it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out. I do want to focus in on that line, the last little sentence there, that, you know, Ben and Wells can't diffuse the drama as things get physical on 2 group dates. I'm just so curious. I know we see in these photos, it looks like there's going to be some sort of boxing date. We see a photo of Matt, a bunch of boxing gloves. They're clearly bringing back this new, I feel like Peter's season, we had like an extreme pillow fight. Then we had another one with Tayshia and Clare. Whatever, they like to put people in the ring. But do we really think things are going to quote unquote like get physical, like in the sense that these girls get off the rails and they start attacking each other, or are they just creatively plugging this boxing match? What do you think, Gabby?
I think it's always a little bit of, you know, hyping us up for something crazy to happen and then it's never anything that exciting. I think, you know, we always see the shots of the ambulance coming or like girls are on the floor bleeding and then it's like when we actually see the episode, you know, some fists were thrown or whatever, some girls were trash talking, but like no one's actually hurt, which is a good thing, of course. But I don't know, these girls this season have been a little crazier and more off the rails than we're used to seeing. So I wonder if, you know, the fights that have been going down in the house verbally, if that is going to fuel a fire that once these girls get into a situation where they're encouraged to be physical with each other, that they're just kind of gonna let it go. And I'm sure they have a lot of emotions just stirring in them right now, whether it's anger or frustration or nerves and things like that are going to fuel whatever happens on this date.
Yes, if Victoria is on this date, I'm sure that whatever's being teased is not an over exaggeration of what happens at all. I can only imagine that whoever goes up against Victoria, they're really in for an unpleasant or maybe not even a surprise. I'm sure they're expecting it. Bachelor history, like we've seen the teasers, like totally dramatic, and really nothing even happens that is that crazy. But because there's always tension in the house, like you see girls, there's at least one or two that go against each other, that or like two pairs that go against each other that really just have at it and they let all their frustrations out. So I think that we will be seeing some of that. I don't know if it's going to be as dramatic as they love to tease. But if Victoria is on this date, then I'm sure we will be very much entertained by the events that take place during the date.
Yes, I certainly would not want to get into the ring with Victoria or anyone for that matter, because I would be terrible at this. Aside from the boxing match that we'll be seeing, they have released some more pictures of the episode. It looks like we're seeing some of the cocktail portions of at least one of the group dates, not both, I guess. And, a picture is, what is it, worth 1,000 words? But we are going to be doing some sort of detective work here. Based on these photos, it looks like Piper and Matt will be making some progress. Haven't seen a lot of Piper yet. We see them kissing here. Who knows what they're going to be talking about, but I would say this looks like their connection is going to be furthered along. We also see Matt sitting down with Lauren, Abigail, and Bree, who we've sort of flagged as ones to watch. They've made some initial connections. So seeing from these images that they'll be getting some more time this next episode. We all know time is like the hottest commodity around. So good for them. And then some girls we haven't got to know too well, Kit, MJ, Jasenia. They also called out Chelsea in particular in the synopsis. They're going to be finally getting some one-on-one time, some screen time as well. So you guys, I just want to know, who is standing out to you as sort of front runners at this point? Is there anyone that you haven't really gotten to know yet, you have a good feeling about, or you're excited just to get to know better? What about you, Mariah?
I love Matt and Bree. From their first date together, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a match made in heaven. But I also really love Abigail. I think I like them both so much because they have consistently portrayed just genuine and wholesome women. And I love to see it. I think that is exactly the kind of person that he is. So I want to see him end up with someone that matches those characteristics. So right now, those are my two front runners. I'm excited to see them in next week's episode and to kind of get to know them more and see if their connection with Matt really grows. Seeing that Kit is going to have a little extra time with him. Kit to me doesn't strike me as someone that Matt would really vibe with, but it's only because I've seen certain parts of her and not necessarily parts of her that are with Matt. So I'm interested to see if their relationship can grow, if they really have anything in common. Because at this time, I don't see it. I'm like totally missing the connection with them. So right now, Bree, Abigail, they're my front runners. And I'm looking forward to see him spend some time with some other women that we haven't seen him spend any time with. So we can see if he has some additional connections.
Those are great predictions. I think Abigail is one of my top as well. Just that photo of them. She is so like cute and quirky and always has him laughing and like big smiles all around. So I think he really looks forward to those moments with her. And I wouldn't be surprised if she got a one-on-one pretty soon so they can just get to know each other even better. I'm also looking forward to seeing more of Chelsea. I think, like you mentioned, the description talks about her a little bit more in the next episode. So hopefully maybe she gets a one-on-one and we can get to know her a little bit better. I think every single one-on-one that Matt has had has just been amazing, which just speaks to how great these women are and how he's going to have such a tough time narrowing it down. But I loved Serena P and I love Bree, and Abigail is so cute. So hopefully we're just going to keep adding to the mix of girls who are definitely in the running towards becoming Matt's next fiance.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I, as always, agree with both of you. I think those are some spot on like observations, predictions. What's so crazy is we've already got so many girls that haven't gotten time, are fighting for time. And every new girl I feel like that we've met so far, when they get some significant time, I'm blown away by. I'm super charmed by. So there are some incredible women this season, aside from all of the drama. And the crazy tease for next week is that they're adding 5 additional ladies to the show. We barely have gotten to know who we already have, and now we're getting 5 new people. The synopsis doesn't reveal too many details. It just teases Chris Harrison drops a bombshell that will change the course of the season. So just some excellent Bachelor dramatics there for us all. But we also have seen some clips of these new women coming in, and I think saying that the original ladies of the house are not thrilled about their arrival would probably be a major understatement. We know there's pretty much immediately some clashing of heads there. I just am curious what your take is. We have so many girls and clearly so little time. Are 5 new girls, like, is this just unfair? Are they making it too difficult? Or does this seem to make sense? What do you think, Gabby?
I think it's honestly unfair because some of these girls who haven't really had much time with Matt at all, they're really dealing with a ton of emotions. They're sticking it out, they're waiting for their time. And as soon as more girls come in, like that's just gives them more competition, more reason to worry. And time is like so short. So I think if especially these new girls start getting roses ahead of them or getting one-on-ones when there's the original girls who are still waiting for time longer than 5 minutes, I think that's going to be really frustrating. And even for the girls who have had a lot of time with Matt, they've established a connection and they really like him, so they're just going to want more time. So I think it's going to rub everybody the wrong way for sure.
Oh, they are most certainly stirring the pot with bringing in these extra women. And from what we've seen on the teasers, is it definitely creates a little bit of a storm within the household. It already seems like everyone's off to a rocky start. People are not happy to have the new girls in. The new girls are trying to lay their claim, which I understand. Maybe if you're walking into a hen house, you need to kind of like show some confidence and dominance, maybe. And that's kind of what I've seen during the teasers. But it's also it looks like it's just a recipe for disaster and drama. I feel for the women who are already, they've started off from day one. They've been missing out on special and crucial time with Matt. They haven't gotten one-on-one. They haven't gotten really a moment with him because there's been so much drama already that's taken it away from them. That's definitely disappointing for them. But as a viewer, I'm like, where's the popcorn? I'm ready to see all of this just unravel. So I feel bad for them, but I'm also kind of excited as a viewer to just sit back and watch it all unravel.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. That's kind of takes me right to my next question for you guys, which is obviously we've seen them get so creative in these like quarantine bubble seasons because they have to stay in one place. We've seen a lot of like, different small prop setups, different activities on the properties. Like they're definitely making the most of it. But, in Tayshia's season and Clare's season, I guess, and now with Matt, we're seeing them pull some tricks out that we aren't really used to seeing, like contestants who've been eliminated walking back through the door. That kept happening in Tayshia's season. I was like, where's the rule book? And now we're getting, 5 new girls sent in, which we see other dating shows do things like this to keep mixing it up, to keep people on their toes. Do we like this tactic? Like, would we love for this to just become a staple when the show goes back to normal, when we're back at the mansion, back traveling the world? Is this a fun twist, or do you like the more traditional format? What do you think, Mariah?
It's entertaining to watch. It is. But one thing that I feel I would really value more about the Bachelor franchise is I want it to root more for the women that have already started it, And by bringing in these additional women into the mix, it strikes me as more about ratings and getting people like into the drama rather than just rooting for the women who are already going through that experience. So in the future, maybe if they toss it in here and there, like this season, a couple seasons later, to mix things up. I understand as a business, you want to keep things interesting and keep people on their toes. But I also just want to see each of these women feel like their time and their sacrifices they've had to make for being on that show is valued and, well worth it. So I want these women to feel like we're all rooting for them, like production is rooting for them. And that can be hard when they're constantly throwing curveball after curveball. So I have mixed feelings about it.
I personally really miss the Bachelor days when we got to travel the world and I could vicariously live through these girls, dating a gorgeous man and traveling the world. So I don't love these new tactics that they're throwing in to try to make the season more exciting because I am ready for those other moments where we can just, go on these really amazing dates and just have this crazy, like, romantic love story unfold. Major props to the producers for keeping it exciting when it's really tough, but I don't know. Either way, a lot of the seasons, the former seasons where it was the more traditional format, and then the more recent ones like Tayshia and Clare, they still ended up engaged by the end of it. So it seems like it's working either way. Of course, Clare and Dale, that one didn't last very long. And we're going to be waiting on Tayshia and Zach to see how that works out. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, does this formula produce a different outcome, that's more positive or not. But as the viewer, I'm ready to, like, get back to the traditional format for sure. It's also interesting that all these girls are going to be coming in, and of course they're going to be upset about it. And then, you guys, we still have Heather's appearance to look forward to. So it doesn't seem like that's coming next week, but maybe the following or the one after that. Basically, really soon, they're not only going to get these 5 new girls, but Heather, who's been on the show before, who has a little bit of a history with Matt. So if they aren't already upset about these new girls, they're certainly going to be upset when Heather walks in.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, Gabby. This whole show experience, whether it's the old format or these, quarantine formats, they put these women, men in such like a pressure cooker environment. And obviously that creates great TV. We get a little drama, we get a lot of emotion, we have a lot of fun. But I think they're definitely turning up the heat in these quarantine seasons because they just need things to be exciting. And perhaps the drama in and of itself, I feel like in this house has been exciting enough to have carried us over. I don't know that we need any more drama as long as we've got Victoria around. But nonetheless, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how all of this works out. You guys, we want to know your thoughts on what's to come next week. If you're excited to see these 5 new women, if you would rather just stick with the cast we have, let us know down in the comments. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell because we'll be covering all things Matt James all season long. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring. I was joined by the incredible Gabby Ganta and Mariah Davis. All of our social handles are on the screen right now. Come say hi. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.